Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Chris Sost, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. Hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Gig Economy Lounge. I wanted to do this episode on the news that just came out today. Kind of old news, but there was an update today. The House and Senate in the state of Florida passed a autonomous bill, updating its previous autonomous bills to basically allow level 5 autonomous vehicles operate commercially on public roads in Florida. That means that they are not required to have a safety driver or monitor in the car while the car is operating on the road. Now, about 11 years ago, I want to say, Florida passed legislation allowing, companies to test autonomous cars as long as there was somebody in the driver's seat to take over in case of an emergency. But the latest update is the governor has signed the bill into law. That law goes into effect July 1st. And this is all a big push to bring companies like Waymo, Aptiv, ATG, which is Uber's autonomous wing of its company. It's actually now its own separate entity, but it's still technically tied to Uber. They are trying to bring these companies here to test because as of right now, they're testing in really nice weather areas like Arizona, the suburbs around Phoenix and Tempe, and a few other places in Arizona, as well as Aptiv is testing along the Las Vegas Strip. I believe Aptiv and Lyft completed 50,000 rides over the past year, and those cars received a 4.97 rating. So the passengers that did experience the Aptiv cars rated it a great experience. And I believe that we're opening up the state of Florida simply because we have a little bit more inclement weather, and these companies can take their testing to the next level. So we're going to be dealing with rain. We're going to be dealing with heavy rain. We're going to be dealing with, puddles that could hydroplane a car. These are all instances that these computers need to learn. The beautiful thing about it is once these computers learn something, they don't forget it. It's not like it goes away in time. So this is just the next step in the process, if you will. I think the bigger news that comes out of this, everybody was really speculating whether Tesla could launch a robo-taxi in the United States and what state, if any, would actually allow level 5 autonomous vehicles to operate independently of human beings and go out and do rides. As of July 1st, Florida will be that state where Tesla can launch the over-the-air update to its vehicles, engage the full self-driving computer chips, and launch its experimental rideshare network, which really is pushing me to double down and triple down on a prediction that I made on my personal Facebook page. Not Facebook, profile or account, but I have a Facebook page where I predicted in the next 24 to 36 months, I believe Uber acquires Tesla, and I believe that the whole autonomous game is over before it even begins, because there's just a whole lot of good things that happen in a partnership between Uber and Tesla, or an acquisition. Number one, Tesla gets the cash that it needs, and number two, Uber gets the vehicles it needs, not only for its autonomous ambitions and the data that comes along with Tesla, but more importantly, it gives Uber very much needed assets when it comes to how people want to value the company. So, not really a long episode. I do want to say I want to get into this last little part. I wanted to get the meat of it out of the way, and this last little part will be purely opinion. All the rest of it, besides my prediction, it is the way it is. Florida set up the insurance and safety requirements. As long as companies meet those requirements, which was pretty much focused on the insurance requirements, Cars will legally be able to operate on Florida public roads without somebody behind the wheel. Let's get into the opinion part of it. Everybody's going to say, but Chris, who's going to trust a car without a driver in it? That's a really good question. The last half of Waymo's testing, what they called the early rider program, the last half of that program, riders were actually getting into vans that had nobody in them. So Waymo's president and a whole lot of other people in this space have said, hey, when we open things up to the public, we're going to start off with safety drivers because we need to bridge. We need to help people get from relying on a driver behind the wheel to being comfortable enough with the technology. So obviously that comes with having a safety monitor. It's a monitor, but in the short term, people that are getting in the cars are going to think that they're drivers when in reality, all they're there to do is make sure that the car is operating the way it should. And if at any point in time they need to take over, then they take over. The one thing that I took away from the Lyft article is Aptiv and Lyft's commitment to safety. They actually tell their safety monitors, if you feel that the car isn't going to perform well in a situation, take over. So everybody's operating with an abundance of caution. Everybody's going to bring up the whole Uber incident. I think that those days of retrofitting cars and turning off, built-in monitors, I think that those days are behind Uber, because there was another piece of news that came out where Uber and Volvo actually built a car together. So the XC90s that they like to use, the new ones coming out, Uber actually is the ones that put in the software in the car. So it's all Uber software, along with any, regular built-in safety features. So they're going to work together, whereas, when they first started that venture, they were retrofitting current XC90s. So now that Uber has this really unique partnership with Volvo and actually building the XC90s together, I think that there's going to be a lot more safety involved. From what I read in the article, there's a lot of redundancies. There's a lot of backup systems and systems that back up the backups. Very similar to, I don't know if you guys watched the Autonomy Day, but Teslas are set up, their computers are dual computers. So there's two computers running simultaneously. There's the primary and then the secondary, and both computers are running independently of each other. So the backup computer is constantly running the same simulations, maybe in a different manner, as the primary computer, just in case the primary computer were to fail. Boom. It's not like the second computer actually has to boot up. It's just going. So I think that these companies are building a lot of redundancy into the systems just because, they're still in data collection phase. But, I believe there will become a time where they will have so much data that it will be a foregone certainty that these computers and these vehicles can easily operate on their own with little to no human input at that point. If you were to ask me personally, I think Tesla is light years ahead of everybody else in this department, simply because they actually collect data on every single Tesla on the road that engages autopilot. They are recording that data. They are recording the data when a driver takes over from autopilot in certain instances. And then a human comes back and looks at every single one of those instances and figures out what did the person see, what did the computer not see, and then they teach that to the computer, except they have to feed the computer many more simulations of that same exact thing happening to help the computer understand how to better cope with the situation or deal with the situation in the future. Which is why when you see a lot of Tesla reviews in 2019, a lot of them are people praising how far autopilot has come since, 2016 and 2017 and then 2018. These computers are doing deep learning. So yes, there are inevitably people out there that aren't going to trust these cars. it is what it is. Like, people didn't trust airplanes when they first came out, and people didn't trust automobiles when they first came out. But amazingly, people these days don't actually have a problem with a plane flying itself 90% of the time. Like, we're conditioned. We walk onto a commercial airline like it's nothing. We think that because there are human beings sitting up front, that they're actually flying the plane. Different story. It's not actually happening. They do the first, I think, like 3,000 to 5,000 feet, and then they do the last 3,000 to 5,000 feet. Other than that, plane is in autopilot, and they actually have to request from the FAA to disengage autopilot, and they have to be granted access. People can't just take over airplanes. Well, trained pilots can't. So, there's a lot of information out there when it comes to autonomous. There's a lot of fear, and, rightfully so. I mean, irrational fear is still legit. I mean, there's people that are afraid of spiders. I mean, but you're literally thousands of times bigger than them. People are afraid of snakes. People are afraid of all kinds of things. So it's natural that you're going to be afraid, at least for a little while, of a car that can drive itself. So, I just wanted to put that information out there. That news came out today of the governor of Florida signing into law the autonomous safety requirements for full level 5, full self-driving vehicles on public roads without a safety monitor behind the wheel. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will talk to you later.